Welcome to the Six-Figure Author Experiment, where we help you break through your first or next $100,000 goal. Parental discretion is advised. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello, ladies. It's so nice to see you again.
Hello. It's great to be here.
I mean, I know you're I talk to you both all the time, but Heather, do you want to reintroduce yourself to the audience before we talk about this book?
Sure. So I'm Heather Hildenbrand. I'm an author of fantasy and paranormal romance and the owner, mastermind, I don't know, behind Manifest Your HEA, which is a service that does coaching and courses for authors who are ready to get rid of their stuff, like all the stuff that's in the way and keeping you from making more money and whatever you want.
Yeah, I love your book. I love your whole vibe, and I love your taste in books because we often read the same books or we're about to read similar books.
We do. I love it.
Speaking of, we all three have read The Science of Scaling, which is like the new book that I get served ads to 500 times a day, it feels like.
Yeah, the business bros are going hard, and the author has been authoring for a while and hired an indie author whom I know from an indie author circle, which is kind of interesting, to lay out their strategy for the book, which they gave away the audiobook for free. I think you can still get it at scienceofscaling.com/audio player or something, or Google free audiobook, Science of Scaling. But I had read at least the first chapter of Who Not How, at least the first chapter of 10X Not 2X. I read all of Be Your Future Self Now. A lot of these, you can get a lot about what the book is about from the title. And as long as you get the title, Who Not How, you're like, okay, find the person. Don't try to figure out the thing. Find the person who knows how to do the thing. The end.
Yeah. Also, before I might have told you this, before I read or listened to Science of Scaling, I went and just looked him up on every podcast I could find. And I told you, I feel like I kind of got the gist of a lot of those books too, just listening to his podcast interviews, which was kind of really cool because I also got the perspective of whoever was interviewing him. So that was also a Cliff's Notes version, which was kind of nice.
Yes.
I think the podcasts on it were actually better than the book itself.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay,
Yeah.
So I have two things that I would love your opinion on about this book, like this overall vibe of this book. One, this is the least sciencey book I think I've ever read with science in the title. Like, it's just like the vibes of, it feels like it's like the vibes of scaling would be a more accurate. Am I the only person who thought that reading this book?
I mean, no. I mean, now that you mention it.
So I read Be Your Future Self Now, and he does reference some, I guess, pop psychology or new information that's coming out that's basically like, let's play with goal setting. Time is a tool, and you switch your identity. The faster you can switch your identity, the faster you can change. And so setting a goal that's huge. I'm going to be a millionaire next month. And Peter Thiel talks about this too. Not that I really want to quote him, but, don't give yourself 10 years, do it in 3 months, basically. Why? Because you shift so much faster your self-concept. And when you shift your self-concept, your subconscious mind rushes to support and protect and defend your self-concept. And here's where I did it wrong. I watched people on TikTok and I said, that's not me. I'm just not like that. What I could have said is, oh, that's interesting. That would have been neutral. Or I could have been like, oh, I'd love to do that. And the sooner I shifted to, I could do that. That's like me. Oh, I love that sort of thing. I could do that. Oh, they're doing it. I could be like her. I am like her. And shift my self-concept to someone who is a TikTok influencer, whatever. The faster I would have found success and also just been a lot happier. Instead, I said, oh, that's not me. But I did love the app, but I felt uncomfortable using it. And then whenever I tried to post, it felt like someone was dragging me backwards. And literally my nervous system is telling me, this is dangerous. You told me that that's not you. And anything we avoid is dangerous to the point it will kill you. That's what we understand. So the faster you shift and say, oh no, I am a millionaire author. I like money. That millionaire, I'm like them. And this is difficult because we've all seen rich people and been like, no, that I'm not like that. I'm not like that. And your brain's like, oh, you're not mean like the bad guy on The Simpsons, but you're also not wealthy. And it pushes wealth away.
Cool.
And this book did change the way I talk about mindset, because I do think it does hold the keys to the kingdom. And I don't know the psychology that backs it up. I'd love to read the studies because it was light on science.
That's what I want. That's what I wanted to have this book in. But instead, this book felt like manifestation for tech bros. And like, that's fine.
It was manifestation for tech bros. I love manifestation, though. The tech bro part was a little hard to take, but they deserve.
Well, there was one podcast, I wish I could remember because I did. I went down the rabbit hole of like all the ones he did, but there was one with this guy and they basically started the podcast off saying like, relax, bros. This isn't like manifestation or anything. Ha 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 ha. And then they proceeded to have an entire conversation that is literally the stuff I teach about manifestation. I was like, okay, guys, tell me you're triggered without telling me you're triggered. Like, it's the same stuff. But you're right. Like, once you mention it, Russell, I'm like, yeah. He didn't really back it up with the science. It was kind of like implied that like I know what I'm talking about or something. I mean, it was still great. It was still good info. I had a lot of takeaways. I had a lot of light bulb. I am making changes to how I do things based on some of the stuff that I read that really like hit for me, but I agree with what you're saying.
Yes, I think that the fact that it's called Science of Scaling probably will turn a lot of people off to reading it who are listening to this, who should be reading this book. So I wanted to get that out first. There's another thing, though, that I think will prevent people from reading this book, which is it's written in Tech Bro, and Tech Bro is easily the most insufferable kind of nonfiction book for me because they assume that everyone is on their side. And they make no effort to like to convince you of the case that they're trying to build. They're just like, well, obviously, if you put $300 billion into a thing, and I'm like, what? Why is any of this obvious? Anyway, like, I feel like it's one, manifestation for tech bros, and two, like, I found the book, the writing of it specifically, not the things inside, to be insufferable.
I mean, he does have his tongue jammed up Elon Musk's ass, but I just kind of skimmed over that because I do dip my toe into tech bro world because they are talking about big concepts and ruling the world. And I have megalomaniac tendencies. Like I am like, yes, let us build an empire and I will use whatever tool is available to me as long as it aligns with my moral compass. And the manifestation part I loved. And I looked back reading it, and of course I recommended it to people because I was like, at least listen to a podcast on it because this is how I built to 7 figures. So that was cool. Like I run the Millionaire Author Mastermind group, and I say that it's the only place for authors to really talk about scaling to $1 million and beyond. That might not be true, but we're very focused on it. And that's why I'm so into mindset, because it is all self-concept and belief. And you have to give yourself permission to 1, be an author, and 2, make a lot of money as an author. And I'm very serious about that. I'm very into that. And any tool that helps me, like I will just take the best and leave the rest. And this is how I did it. I changed my identity. I did the silliest little things to feel like a millionaire author. I would go on Millionaire Author Days and I set an impossible goal, and it was delusional. It was absolutely delusional, except not when you're with the tech bros talking about scaling. They're delusional too. And everyone just gives them $100 billion valuation. I need to maybe raise my own self-concept. So I give myself a $100 billion valuation because I am an elite brand. But when I sit down with an author and when I coach, I'm thinking about me at 2014, so desperate to be an author, not giving myself permission, got some hypnotherapy, 2015, started publishing and was so happy. And it was like the road cleared because I was in love. And when you're in love, everything goes right for you, right, Heather?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're at the top of the Abraham Hicks scale. Let's talk real manifestation stuff now. And it just like, I was like, I'm going to make 6 figures at this. because I saw people doing it and I didn't automatically assume I couldn't because I didn't think I could be an author. And I was. So the miracle had already occurred. And I gave myself permission to do that. And then I gave myself permission to 10X it. Another tech bro term that I love. Let's 10X everything, y'all.
Yes.
And I am going to stop talking because right now, after reading this book, I realize very strongly I am not in a scale my income era. I am in a healing era, and that is well and good. And I started to cut things out. Russell knows about all this. I started to cut things off my calendar like crazy because I just wanted to be free. I just wanted the freedom that we talk about so much on this podcast.
Yeah, but you know what? I would argue too a little bit that his principles from the book about how to approach a goal are true for whether that goal is 10X or the goal is the healing era, because you're talking about cutting things. And one of the things that stuck out to the most to me was how he talked about your floor. That like hit me right like between the eyes, because it was like, what are all the things that you're doing that you really have no business doing if you say this is your goal? So same thing with healing. It's all about cutting things, right? And it's about creating space. That was the thing he said. It was about creating space. In fact, I thought of Russell immediately because we'd been emailing about like all the things we had cut out this year and the space we had created. And when we were like making plans for this chat, he was like, yeah, we have to do it at this time because like I go to the movies in the afternoons. Afternoons, plural. And I said, what?
Yes.
Russell goes to the movies every afternoon? I thought I cut a lot of things. Clearly, he is the master right now.
Russell is the Zen master. Teach us your ways.
I was like so stoked that was the way you worded it specifically, because I also was reading this book when you said that, and I was thinking about, creating space and like how it creates space for whether you're healing again or 10Xing, but also like for me, what it needed to do was create space for the deep work he talks about in the book, you know, and how and I heard this like years ago from Tony Robbins too, like working on your business versus in your business. And I realized I had not been doing my on your business work for a while because my schedule gets so full. And since just in the past few weeks, since I've kind of reordered things and been deliberate about that, it's already crazy the amount of creativity I've had, like the new ideas, the motivation to even want to do them. Because like before I was like, I have so many ideas of things I want to launch, especially for coaching, that I've just been sitting on for months because I also have no bandwidth. And I recognize that. And I'm not going to do it if I don't have bandwidth. I'm smart enough and kind enough to myself to do that. But it's like the space he was talking about creating, I apply that to all these things. So, I mean, I'm with Lee. Like I took what I wanted out of it. And also, I think because I do coaching and I talk to so many different people with different perspectives and I have to meet them where they are. I am a big fan of, and Russell and I have talked about this, I'm a big fan of saying the same thing in lots of different ways to reach lots of different people.
For sure.
So like, it didn't really like rub up against me or offend me that, you know, like this type of very masculine oriented, and I don't mean that gender wise, I mean that energetically, right? Tech bros are very masculine way, manifestation is very feminine, right? But like, it doesn't bother me because I'm like, yeah, I hear it's the same thing, right? Science and manifestation are the same thing, just different words. And so I get excited. I'm like, oh, you're coded in how you're talking about this, but you're talking about future you. And that's my favorite manifestation tool. So you're cute. You're so cute that you think this has nothing to do with me. You keep on going thinking that, you know, like it was just fine for me.
Yeah. So like I loved this book also, but like I wanted to get those two things out first because I think probably a lot of people who are listening to this book are like more on the manifestation side than they are the tech bro side. And they may be like, science, scaling, tech bro. But like, I'm with you. Like they have some good stuff. Like everyone's got like 5% of the answer and like they've got 5% of the answer. And like, if you want to find companies that have scaled, like most of them recently have been tech and like they all write books about it. And like, they know what they're talking about in this thing. Like they just are very hustle culture oriented. And like, I'm not about that life. One of I forget if it's this book. I think Heather, you and I talked about this, but like, it's the idea that when we're starting, we're growing and scaling by adding. But like at a certain time, at a certain point, that stops being true. And in my life, I have learned the thing that I took most of this book was like, if you want to scale, it has to be simple. It has to be like the simplest version of a thing. And when I consult with people, often I'm like, tell me what you do in 10 words. And they're like, I don't know. Like I'll tell you about Plot Drive specifically because I've been working with them for the past couple of months. Is like they came in and they were their thing was like, we're an AI writing platform built from the ground up with AI. And I was like, who cares? It's like, so is Word. Like, so is Microsoft. Like, everything is like AI now. Like, no one cares about AI. Like, what is the thing that you do, though? And like, it just kept being, and I was like, you can't in the tail end of 2025, like, break into a market like writing with like AI as your main focus because, like, people see it currently as like this thing that is like coming for their jobs. And like it is not that thing, but like what people care about, and I'm like, even what they cared about when AI was like a buzzword was like, how does this make me be able to do more with less or like hit
Yeah.
my goals or
Like, what's in it for
manifest
me?
the thing? Right.
Yeah.
And it's like AI was just like this thing. And now it has no meaning because AI is just everything. So like it took forever to be like, let's break it down. Okay, let's go. Me using the product, us doing webinars before it's like, oh, the thing that AI can really, this AI, specifically Plot Drive, is like a very simple, like, word processor. And I was like, why are you competing against other AI people to get 0.1% of the market when like Microsoft Word also has AI embedded in it. Like all these other platforms all have AI embedded in it. And like, would you call a Microsoft Word? Do you think anyone has a negative reaction to saying they use Microsoft Word unless like they just hate the experience of Microsoft Word? Like what we're really trying to do here is like break people's blocks so that the 3% of people who are halfway through a book but don't finish it, finish that book. And the 15% of people who start a book and don't finish it, finish it. So it's like the market is like, how do I help you finish your book? Like that's the only thing that matters. And if you're trying to find writers, it's like, is it AI? Is it manifestation? Is it like tech bro? Like, I don't care. I want you to have control over your author career. But like the thing that breaks through to me is breaking your blocks so you get into flow faster and stay in flow longer. That is like 15 words that anyone that's like, I want that will hear. And we as writers are often terrible at making it easy for other people to share our work. And I used to get this all the time with my work. It's like, what book do I share with them? How do I talk about it? Like, what is the world thing? Like, people, one of the reasons I think romance and thrillers are so ubiquitous is because, like, it's really easy to be like bad boy alpha. Like, it's very easy to say, like, guy punches people until be meeting boss. Like these are like such easy concepts to understand. And we get up in our head doing all of this stuff. And we're like, add. But like there's only a very small percent of your life when adding things is going to lead you to that success. Usually it's being like, you need one great idea to scale. And like the way to do that is to spend all your time trying to find that one idea that will scale, not distracting yourself with a bunch of average things that like are just taking your time.
Yeah, agreed. And but we also do put a lot of pressure on, is this the one thing, right? Like,
okay. I was just going to say,
yeah,
the one thing is something that you love best. And you could spend so much time on it. And that's where, Heather, you're just trying to get us out of our own way to be like, no, I'm worthy and I'm good enough to love the things I love. Yeah. I wrote a 100,000 word poison ivy mafia romance. My beta reader loved it. I framed her quote for my wall so I remember that people actually like my writing. And then she was like, it's obvious this was your baby. Like you put so much love into this. That's probably why it's so good. It's because I just loved it. And I put everything I loved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that I am on the right track. I'm investing my love. I'm making space for the things I love and only the things I love. And that's where so real quick, the book's framework is you set a goal that becomes your frame. So just pick peach tree, apple tree. And we're evolutionarily wired to go for goals like this. And once you're going to fly to New York, you're not going to fly to LA. You're just not. Just do one. And if you're flying to New York, don't get on a train. Go to the airport, right? And that's where you set the frame and your entire brain is like, okay, red truck syndrome. We're going for red trucks. Now all I see are red trucks. You could just as easily say black Hummers, but you said red Jeeps or whatever. And then you raise the floor. You're not going to accept the black Hummer. You're not going to go for the Peachtree. You're not going to go to LA. And that takes self-respect. And that is where raising your floor will just slay me every time, because it's about decluttering. And why am I decluttering? Because I'm more worthy. I'm worthy to have a life that I love. I'm worthy to do what I love. And then the final part of the framework is focus. But you can't focus until you have made space and cut. And for this guy coaching business owners, oftentimes it means we have one product that we're really obsessed with, but we have 900 other products that make us more money because we just try to do everything for everyone. But we don't think we can scale that. We only think we can scale this one product. So I am going to take a cut on my books for the next quarter. And that's pretty high level. Like, you have to be pretty in love with what you're doing and serious and have a lot of faith and have a vision. And man, that's where it like really gets going. But I think for authors, it's like, are you allowing yourself to go for what you want? Whether it's $1 million, a book deal, a movie deal, or just to be an author. And so many of us are saying no to ourselves in so many ways and then cluttering up our life. So it's like, well, I can't say yes to myself. I have to go to the PTA meeting. But do you? And that's where raising the floor comes in.
I think and this is the thing, I think one of the things he was missing, right? Because this isn't science, is belief, right? It takes belief in yourself, in that you are capable. It's about what you were talking about with your self-concept and your identity. Like, do you believe that you're somebody who's capable of achieving your goals? Do you believe you're somebody who gets what you want? Do you believe you're somebody, who's worthy, good enough, and deserving? Essentially, it always comes back to that, of like having and doing and being this thing. And if deep down you're not, then it's all going to be harder, right? Like, that's why we clutter ourselves with other tasks, because it's backup plans. It's backup plans because we don't really believe it about this, right? We're like, I think it's going to be this book, but just in case it's not this book, it could also be the next book. So I'm going to make giant marketing plans for both. Or, it's like everything has to be the thing because lack of belief, desperation, survival mode. It could be all these things. It could be a million other things, but usually that all comes back to lack of belief, right? So if we have that belief, then we can have the vision. Then we can keep the vision, even when, we're in the 11th hour and it doesn't look like it's happening yet. But if you have the belief, then you will hold to the course. You won't clutter yourself. You won't, all that stuff. I know. That's the hard part. But that's a little woo, I feel like. So he couldn't get into that, but they did kind of they like assume you have that, right? The tech bros like assume you have the belief and then they go, okay, so now here's what you do, right? But that does come first.
That's so interesting, because I found that belief was like 90% of what he was teaching in this thing. Because a big part of the structure, the one you didn't talk about, Lee, was the goal can't be a thing you already know how to do.
Oh yeah.
It has to be this thing that is like, you don't have the system structure.
No idea. It feels impossible. Yeah.
Right.
Possible goal. I loved that. Delusional goals, guys.
Yeah. And it was like, one of the examples, the main example they gave, I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, is this woman who was like, I want to have 100 clients. And she was like, oh, I can do like 100 calls a week. I know how to do that thing. And the writer was like, well, what if you did 1,000? or 10,000? Or like, what if you had to get 10,000 clients? And she's like, I don't know how to do that. But like, she learned how to, like, she like made one call to like this. She's like, okay, if I have to do this thing, then like I have to change all of my systems and structures. And she ended up calling this organization or association, and she got like 8,000 clients, like within like the snap of her fingers, because she made one deal. And like, those are, to me, like, that is very manifesty. It's like,
Well,
I'm going to figure it out.
she meant a super who. Yeah, and I loved that. So set an impossible goal and play with time. You're going, I want to get my PhD in 10 years. No, 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 no. Say 3 years. And your brain breaks a little, and that's good because you don't want to create from your past. You want to create from your future self. Ding, ding, ding. Mm-hmm. Heather has a great meditation on future self for free on your website, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple different ones. Future self is one of them. Yeah. I love future self is I'm high futuristic, as Becca Syme would talk about. Okay. So like me, sometimes I think that's why it's so helpful, but it's helpful for everybody. Yeah. Create from your future, not from your past, for sure.
And then, for me, broke author told all her life, get a job, don't be an author. Finally allowed myself to be an author. Then I'm like, I'm going to make a bunch of money. And it felt right. Like it definitely, I felt the alignment, but it went against everything that I had been taught. It was impossible. And immediately red truck syndrome kicked in, and I started to notice all the people who were making six figures from books. And I didn't even allow myself to look before 2014 in that hypnotherapy session. That's the crazy part, is I said no to being an author in 2008. The year the Kindle was invented and people's lives as indie authors changed forever. I could have so easily said yes and just left the door open a crack. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know what's going on, it's fine. Just say yes to yourself, or just don't say no. Just be neutral. Just be like, well, Lee made some money as an author. Russell makes money and goes to the movies all the time. I want that,
Right? Yeah. And also not needing to know how, right? Because the very next thing our brain does when we think of an impossible goal is we go, well, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. And then we shut it back down again, or we like back up again into like the comfort zone. But what he talks about in the book that I love is like, no, the whole point of the impossible goal is you don't know how, and you have to sit with that. You have to start to shift who you are, because if you knew how, you'd already be there. So like, you don't know how. You can't keep doing things the way you've been doing them. You have to allow yourself to do things in a completely new way that's going to feel super freaking scary. Actually, it's so new. And that's the point. That's the point.
Good.
It's so
good. Anna Wong said, I want my books to be read everywhere. And she said, well, how do I do that? Well, I'll get on TikTok. I remember she said, I tried to figure out how to not show my face on TikTok. And then she said, oh, I'll contact influencers. So who, not how. I don't have to reach 1 million people. I'll reach 1,000 people who have 10 million reach. And now she's sold 20 million books in 5 years. Like she did it.
But so that's such a great example too of like what he talks about with the floor. If you weren't willing to stop doing a bunch of other stuff that's keeping you busy, then you would have this idea of, I'm going to contact 1,000 influencers. And your first thought is, I don't have time for that.
Oh, I've said that.
Yeah. So
I was like, I don't want to do that. Let me hide in my writing cave forever.
Right.
Thank you. I do not want to be seen. I do not want to be found out. And that is why I'm in therapy.
Well, not wanting to be seen and saying I don't have time. Well, those could be the same thing, sure, because it
was an excuse.
Like an excuse. Yeah. But if the excuse really is I don't have time, and you need to just look at your calendar and create space and go, the floor has to raise, right? That's what he talks about in the book. You have to raise the floor, which means you have to be non-negotiable on not doing some of this other stuff anymore, because you have to create space to do the thing that's going to matter for the goal.
Yeah, the thing that really connected to me at the end of it, besides the like simplify to scale, is I've been thinking a lot about this manifestation thing, which is like, hold your want tightly and your how loosely.
Love that.
And it's like, this is like a a more, I want to say salient, but like this is a more like structured way to say that is like, well, if you want to make $1 million this year as an author, like you have to be open to those opportunities when they come around. And like, if you are doing all of these things, then you are not having those opportunities. Like they just are not going to come. Um, I saw this really interesting movie called Eleanor the Great yesterday, and in it, this the main there's a father and a daughter, and the father is like a really successful news anchor, and the girl wants to do poetry, and she instead starts doing like journalism, and the guy says, well, like poetry is hard to make money at. And I'm like, dude, you are a journalist. Like there are no journalism jobs here. Like you have this bias that like, oh, you can have successful in journalism because I have successful in journalism. But like I could show you a dozen poets who also have the thing. And as I was going, I was like, man, what would happen if he just said, how can I support you to become a successful poet instead of you can't do that? Because he has all sorts of resources to bear. He's probably interviewed a bunch of poets. He's probably like got somebody on his staff who could give 10 hours to. Like he could, there's all of these ways you could become a successful thing in today. And like once you have one example of it, you couldn't replicate that example of it. Like maybe not with your current systems, but with like other systems that exist. And you see it all of the time.
That's the secret. That's what I want people to get. If you say, well, this is my impossible goal, what do I do? Look for the people who are doing it, who are having it, who have what you want in a way that you want to have it. And also, I would say set aside time every day to feel into the end result of what you want. Mm-hmm. And yes, that's completely woo-woo, but it also creates a pathway of safety in your mind. Because if $1 million, your body is afraid that will kill you because you've associated it with greed and fights over the dinner table over money or whatever, then you have to create a pathway of safety to it. And you do that in your mind. So I would walk around and be like, I'm a millionaire author. I'd call my friend Renee, who was open to this sort of thing. And I'd say, I'm having a millionaire day. She'd go, what's that? I'd be like, well, I'm going to go to the gym as a millionaire. And I'm going to sit by the pool as a millionaire. And I'm going to drink a smoothie as a millionaire. And I'm going to go meet a friend for lunch. And I am a millionaire author. And I'm just going about my day, doing things that make me feel good. And that's what this day is for.
Yes.
For me, embodying who I want to be, which honestly, I'm still like the same person, like didn't drink enough water, kind of creaky in yoga.
Okay, so I do this thing with my clients now where we talk about this. We talk about going about your day feeling as if, right? But I actually also pull it in from the present, or even almost not quite past, but the present. I pull this in because I go, yes, talk about it in the context of that you still are not perfect, because we accidentally want to make it perfect. So I go, that's why my favorite like affirmations or mantras are like, I'm rich and a hot mess. Because I was having this coaching call with a girl one time and she was like, we were talking about money. We were talking about she wants to level up to multiple six figures. And she was like, I don't know. I don't have my stuff together because like my inspection's expired. I go, girl, me too.
Yeah.
I go, girl, I haven't had time to get my car. Normally it's not. But at that point, I said, I'm behind on an oil change. I don't have a current state inspection. My plates are about to expire. I need to get on that. I said, when you create this gap of like then I will be perfect, then you can't ever let it in now, right? And you're creating this impossible standard you'll never get to, so then you'll never get to that millionaire set. I said, normalize. So I said, I made her like repeat these affirmations of like, I'm rich and don't have a state inspection. Yeah. Not because we don't want you to have it, but like normalize. It's just real. It's just who you are right now.
Yes. On Money Magic, a friend shared that her friend hit the New York Times, and that morning her dog threw up in her shoes, and she was cleaning it out going, I'm a New York Times bestselling author.
I love it.
But that's okay. So Heather, I'm pretty sure I talked to you about this. Like most people think that success is a leading indicator, but it's a trailing indicator.
Yes.
And so, like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, because the outer success, first of all, is going to be the last piece to show up anyway. We think so we think seeing is believing, and really believing is seeing. That's what manifestation is. That's how your brain let's make it science. Like Lee talked earlier about the black Jeep, right? Make it about a black Jeep, right? So there's this thing in your brain, the RAS, the reticular activating system. I always get tongue-tied on the last word.
Reticular activating system.
So it's going to bring to you what your subconscious thinks is important to you, right? And your subconscious is built to prove you right. That's why there's all this confirmation bias. That's why you're never going to change anybody's mind politically. Stop trying, because we're built this way. It's biology, right? So use it for you instead of against you. Tell your brain. So Amanda, one of our coaches who also does human design for Manifestor HEA, she's amazing. She says, ask yourself why. Don't just say, I am a seven-figure author. Ask yourself why, because your subconscious always wants to answer the questions you ask. So go, why am I a seven-figure author? Like, do it when you're worried about the how. Why am I a seven-figure author? And your brain's going to go, I don't know, but I guess we got to find out, right?
You got to find out for me.
But the black Jeep thing is like, when you decide this is important, it will start bringing you, like Lee was like, I started noticing all these six-figure authors now. And it's like, were they not there before? Or was I just not noticing them? No, I just was not noticing them because it wasn't important to me. So make it important.
Backfired. I became a seven-figure author, and everyone was a seven-figure author. I was like, oh my gosh, her too? People were messaging me, and I was like, well, I guess it's not so special then. I guess I didn't really do that well. I mean, I use it as a club to beat myself up with, because it turns out you can hit a big goal and still have a lot to heal in your own self-concept. I embraced Millionaire Author, but also had other stuff to heal. And that's fine, because my entire world was being filtered through not only seven-figure author, but also like my sad identity. And that's great, because now I'm realizing if I decide now that I'm amazing, I don't have to even say affirmations. My brain naturally gives me the affirmations. Like, I've decided I'm amazing. Therefore, I poured my coffee and I did it perfectly. I'm amazing. And the whole day changes because my head just goes, oh, we're saying this to ourselves now? Great, let's do it.
Yeah, but that's the thing that Russell just brought up, is the leading indicator versus trailing, right? It's like, first, you really do decide and do the work to heal and believe that you are amazing, that you are worthy, good enough, and deserving. Then you feel better. You feel like somebody who's worthy, good enough, and deserving. Then you show up as that person. It is your identity now. You make decisions from that place. And then your whole life changes because you made decisions from that place. And that's when the 3D manifestation shows up. It's the last part. So yeah, I love that.
And by then it feels like old news, and you're like, well, everybody does this.
Yeah, it's so normal. Yeah, you're like, wait, her too? I love that you thought that, because you're like, well, now that I'm here, it just feels so normal. So now what?
I know. My husband and I were at a writing retreat, and he looked around the room and I said, this is not normal, Justin. Like, my friend group is crazy. I did realize it in that moment, in that room. I was like, these people all make a ton of money. And I don't know if that is true for most people in the world and in the
No, but right. So really, it was maybe just realizing, like, you had normalized it so much. And that's the thing. That's what we do in coaching. We normalize it. That's why we bring in your problems. I go, make future you, and then give her a bunch of your problems. She's going to solve it differently than you, and that's going to feel fun. But she's still going to have laundry on her floor or her bed or whatever. Like, give her back those problems. But anyway, yeah, like, you had normalized it so much that it was like no big deal. But that's one of the secrets, I think, is we have to normalize it so that it feels like no big deal in our nervous system, in our body, in our life, because that's when it becomes our reality now, instead of like projected all the way out in the future all the time.
Yeah, my wife said something a while ago. I was like, things always work out for her. Just like things, just like generally like the kind of person who could be late to a movie and the movie won't start until she gets there. And I said this to her once, and she's like, almost everything works out for you too. And so I started thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, it's true. Almost everything almost always works out for almost everyone, almost all of the time. And
Yeah.
like, so I started going through the world with like that idea where it's like, well, I don't know. Well, so yesterday, we went to my friend's book launch party, and like we only had like an hour to stay there before we got to the movie. But like, I was like, I'm gonna get a tattoo. So like, I got a tattoo because they had flash tattoos. Like,
Yep.
we stayed for cake, which was like put us at like towards the end of when we could leave for the movie, if not past it. And like suddenly, like it only took 45 minutes instead of an hour. We got there not once the movie was ready to start, but before the previews even started. Like we just like it worked out. Like I used to say, you know, most people in well, this is going to get very morbid, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like most people who meet a serial killer don't die. Almost nobody dies. Like almost nobody who ever meets a serial killer dies. So
Yeah.
like some people do, but like if we look at like if you watch every movie, everyone in the movie dies, but like actually they don't, because like there's a bunch of background people who met that person. Like if you count everyone that that person interacted with in that movie, the majority of them don't die. But we are focused on these like events of like consequence. But like usually when I'm walking through a day, like just like things are okay. Like most things just like will work out for you if you like want them to.
Yeah, it's like being focused on what we don't want versus what we do want. And I mean, that's biology too, right? Because it's trying to keep us alive. It's trying to make
Right.
sure we're not going to get eaten or something like that, right? Killed by a serial killer. But like, if we did that's the Raz, right? So if you change and go, I'm going to deliberately focus on what I do want, and I'm going to look for evidence that I am somebody who things always work out for, then that's what you'll find evidence for. And then you'll reinforce that belief, and then that belief will become more true, and then you'll find more evidence, and then you'll reinforce that belief, and then belief will come more true. Because I did that so my husband's the same way. And I always tell him that's why I married him, because I wanted to be on his team because he was really good at this. I was like, I can tell, like, you are someone who it always works out for. You don't even have to worry. You're like, anxiety, what is that? What does that even feel like? And I'm a little bit like, F you, but that's nice for him, right? So it just always works out for him, and like effortlessly. And I was just like, I want to be on your team. But I did have to switch it over to me too, right? Because in the beginning, I was like, I felt like I was really good at manifesting money for him. I definitely took credit. I definitely took credit.
Good. I'm glad, because I was like, what the heck, dude?
He would like get a raise, and I'm like, I mean, it's a little bit you, but like, you're welcome, like, because I'm like trying so hard to like manifest and have good mindset, and like, I haven't made any money in my business or any more, and like, you're welcome. So anyway, I had to switch it over to me too, and then I had to switch it over for my kids because they would also like say stuff, and I would just be like, but everything always works out for you too, right? And they would do like you, they'd be like, what? And they would want to think about it. And now I'm like, it's almost like, and then they'll finish the sentence. Everything is always working out for me. I know, mom. And like we had to, but I was like, we are programming this, because if your reality shows up based on what you think is going to happen, which is how it works, that's a manifestation. We get what we expect, or we get what we believe is going to happen. Then why wouldn't we focus on believing good stuff is going to happen?
Well, what started it for me was I started saying I refuse to be ruled by the worst 3 to 5 minutes of my day.
Oh,
And I was like, I would look and be like, oh yeah, there was like 3 minutes of my day that sucked. Like my dog barked at the wrong time, and like I got a bad email, and like someone yelled at me or whatever. And it's like there's so many minutes in a day. And like those minutes are the ones that are going to rule me. And so if you are feeling like, well, I could never do this for myself, like it really helped to say, oh, what are like list all the bad things that happened. Like it's going to be 10 minutes of the day.
yeah.
Like, and maybe it's a half hour of the day, but like, even if you have to like go to the DMV, most of the time you spend in the DMV isn't bad time. It's nebulous time. And I think we think that everything should be good, but really in my life, when I started, so my wife works with autistic children, and she was just my, well, I asked this one day like what she felt, and she said nothing. And Karen was like, "That's so sad." It's like No, that is like the goal. The goal is peace. And like peace is just quiet reflection time. And like if you think that everything has to be good or you have to be happy or you have to be content or whatever that thing is, like you can never get there. It doesn't matter how happy you're ever going to be or how sad you're ever going to be. Like you will not feel that all the time. What you will feel most of the time is some nebulous middle thing. And like the more successful I get, the more like I feel it's not nothing, but it's like peace and calm and like grounded.
Mm.
Yeah. And an empty space. You are right. Even in my brain, which
Love that.
I do think is still like some people hear that and go, that would be amazing because it's relief, right? Like when we're in coaching and I feel like somebody's really released something traumatic or whatever they've been carrying for a long time, it feels like relief. It feels like the weight off, but it feels like also like the weight being this like jumble of thought that we're carrying around and now it's just gone. It's
So this ties into the nervous system regulation class that I've taken in the past 6 weeks. That's been amazing. And it's all about coming out of dysregulation back into regulation, which we're supposed to be able to pendulate and do, but we can get stuck. And I've been stuck in the hustle culture one, which is in sympathetic or fight or flight. And if you do that for too long, you burn out. You go into dorsal, which is like a deep depressive hibernation state. And it's been fascinating noticing how my nervous system tone changes throughout the morning, depending on whether I'm in my office or walk into the kitchen and see the sink full of dirty dishes, whether I'm taking a walk with my husband, who does regulate me so well, made a great choice marrying that man, let me tell you. And everything does work out for him and he never has anxiety. And I'm like, okay, well, I have all the anxiety and I have both of us and I will just be the one. But I'm learning to regulate. And when you regulate, you're just able to look out the window. And that's one of the exercises. We do these tiny little exercises multiple times a day with little check-ins. I'm like, where am I at? What am I feeling? And what's interesting is because I'm in fight or flight, all I hear is, you got to keep moving. You got to, nope, don't stop. You can't stop. You need to answer that email. You got to do ads. You need to take that course on ads and that course on ads. And so many authors are in this. And hustle culture makes it worse. It encourages it. And it's just anxiety and you're just dysregulated. So coming back into regulation where you can just be, it doesn't always feel great.
no, right. That's a thing. I feel like I end up having to say, and then I go, oh yeah.
Because you've been outrunning your emotions.
Yeah, it's going to feel.
And now you feel them because you're no longer running from a bear. Your body's like, oh,
yeah,
we have time. Oh, well, by the way, your ankle is killing you because you're running on a broken ankle from a bear, though. We made sure you didn't feel it while you were running from a bear. But now that you stopped, you're going to feel your pain. Mm-hmm. You're going to cry. You're going to feel the emotion. But I actually did a regulating tool and cried. And the teacher facilitator was like, ask the tears, you know, what they're saying to you. And my tears were like, finally, you stopped for 5 seconds. And yeah, all the money in the world and no regulation. Like if I can just be regulated, I feel rich. So I am no longer scaling my money. I'm scaling my peace of mind. Yeah. That's my scale.
That makes me think of When the Body Says No, which I think Russell and I were saying. I just read that. And it's like, it's like if you want the opposite end of the pendulum from The Science of Scaling, read those back to back. That was interesting. Yeah.
For sure. So I'll tell you a weird thing that happened when I was on safari. So I was on safari a couple of years ago, and I thought I would see like pockets of animals. But what I ended up seeing was these fields where all of these animals were just together. And some of those animals were predators. And the prey animals were just like chilling. Like, it's like, oh, like, well, there's nothing to fear now. I'm like, they haven't pounced on me. Like, they're not running towards me. Like, I don't have to activate that thing. And I was thinking about that. I read this book and it said, all anxiety is a lie. And every time I say this to anyone, they yell at me. But like, I feel like the two of you might be like, oh yeah.
I'm like, say more things first before I form a judgment.
So anxiety is like fear in fight or flight. Like it's like your fight or flight kicking in.
Yeah.
But if your fight or flight kicks in, it should only kick in to prevent you from something that will cause you, put you in physical danger now, immediately. Not if the predator is out walking on the plane with you, when it's actually like running towards you. And I watched all this pack of zebras just watch these two lions as they like circled, and all of them were super chill, just eating their thing. And then for like 30 seconds, the lion pounced and all of the zebras ran around. But they ran around until the lions tired themselves out, and the lions were still there. They were like right there, and they were like, ugh, that didn't work. Okay, I guess we're gonna go sleep it off. We'll be back in several hours, guys.
Yeah.
And like that is how the fight or flight response is supposed to work. So
Yep.
every time it doesn't work like that, like it is our body lying to ourselves. And so either things are putting you in immediate physical danger, like right now, this minute, or they are anxiety. And if it is anxiety, then it is your body not working the way that it's supposed to.
It's true. And it's because if we had the mind of a zebra, we'd be fine. But we have imagination and memory. So when you move a box in the attic, you see a spider, you jump back immediately before thinking, before registering. This 500 million-year-old system comes online to keep you alive. You jump back. That is when fight or flight is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But that's so interesting about the lions and the zebras just hanging out together, and they didn't turn it on. And they can turn it off, but we do not, because we watch the news and then we dream about the news and then we fantasize about all the horrible things that would happen. And if we didn't have those components, we would just turn off the fight or flight after jumping away from the spider. We wouldn't have a fear of spiders. We would just be like, when that system needs to come on, that turbo system that shunts all the blood from our stomach, that doesn't allow us to sleep well, we'd stop digestion. And you're only supposed to be in that state for the time it takes, the seconds it takes for you to run away from a lion. And outside of that, it is harming you because you're not able to digest. Your body functions break down and you can't sleep. And after a while, you develop chronic disease because you're just, dysregulated.
Yeah. So the book I'm reading right now, which, Russell, I don't know if you'll want to tag along to this one or not. It's called Come As You Are. It's about female pleasure, the libido, all this stuff, right? But she talks about this. It is really, really good, really interesting stuff that she actually talks about this from the context of what's really kind of like tripping us up with all of that is that we aren't completing the cycle. So our body is designed to, just like the animals, like complete the cycle. So when they have to run away from the lion, that's them completing the cycle because they identified the predator, right, the danger, and then they reacted and did something about it. And when we get anxiety, we don't do anything with it, right? We just sit in it. And so our nervous system doesn't complete the cycle of like fight, flight, or freeze, whichever one we've gone into. But if we can find ways to complete the cycle, then our body will release it a lot more easily, effectively, whatever. Like, have you ever seen like animals, like something will happen and they will literally, they'll just like give a shake and then they'll just move on, walk away, right? That's them completing the cycle, like shaking it out of them. If usually it's like if they just got startled, so they didn't have a chance to run or fight, right? Essentially that was them in freeze, and you have to complete that cycle as well. So then they just literally shake it off. But if you run or you fight, whether that's literally or metaphorically somehow, that also completes those cycles. So when we do that, our nervous system releases and doesn't keep holding on. And then, because then the anxiety like builds and builds and builds. Obviously.
Have you read Burnout, How to Complete the Stress Cycle?
It sounds so familiar.
I think someone gave that away at a mastermind.
Was that the one? We got something. Yeah. I feel like I might have.
I don't remember.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Keep
I
talking.
love this book because it's all about like the exact thing that you say. In fact, in my house, we say, do you have to close the loop? Because like some things you're just like, this is so like it's like I have to do this, and I'm like, well, just like close the loop. And my niece used to say this actually because she is also autistic, and she's she was like, I have to just like, and then my it's just like I have to do something, and like my sister was like, oh yeah, she just has to close the loop, and I was like, wait, say more things about that. She's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, sometimes she just like gets in her head cycling and like until she just finishes the thing. And I was like, oh my God, I do that too. That's the exact thing that like I do all of the time. And it's like, I'm not autistic, but like we all have the tendency to be like, I just have to touch that thing. And then it's like, I'm like thinking about it all day and I'm like, I'm just gonna, I know that the thing is, I know it's probably nothing, but I'm just gotta touch it. And then it's like, oh my God, if I had just done that,
But
then
what's
Yeah.
I
so
would
good about
have.
this, when you learn to regulate, I think you can make space for scaling because you can be comfortable in your own body while you're number one on Amazon and you feel like, oh, my TikTok got a 10 million views and I have so many more eyeballs on me. I have some nasty comments. I have stuff being filtered. They're
Yeah.
so nasty. But you can handle it because you can regulate.
Yeah, I was just having that same thought. I was like, oh, this circles back so perfectly that when we grow, when we scale, like basically what's happening is like so many authors are like, I want to make a lot more money, not even just a little, a lot. Like we have big dreams, we have big goals, and the truth is we are worthy, good enough, and deserving, and we are capable. But if you wake up, this is how I describe it. If you wake up in the morning at like an 8 on the stress scale because you're not closing the loop ever and you've been carrying a lot of this stuff from because like Russell said a thing earlier about like the 3 worst parts of your day, but like I mean I'm working with people who are still carrying the 3 worst moments of their life and they're still trapped in the fight flight or freeze cycle of that. And so when you wake up at an 8,
Yeah.
you literally don't have capacity. The thing about growth and scaling and abundance and more money and more whatever is it's going to be so uncomfortable. It's going to be just so much outside your comfort zone. If it wasn't, you'd already have it because it'd be who you are now and the comfort zone you're already in. It's going to require you to be outside your comfort zone. You're going to experience this discomfort while you grow and change. And like, I mean, to the point where I describe it as like, if it's like the house you have now, you have to completely demolish it and tear it down and rebuild. You can't build a brand new mansion on like a shack. Like you have to like tear it down and rebuild. That's what it's going to feel like. It just feels like everything's falling apart for a little while when you're in the middle of something like that. So that's a lot of discomfort. And if you wake up at an 8, you don't have capacity in your mind, in your energy, and in your nervous system to handle the kind of discomfort it's going to require of you to go where you want to go. So, like baseline, you have to be willing to start to regulate and do stuff like this.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm gonna say another thing that I'd love to get your opinion on, which is most things that scale that like have done the most to help me in my career are dumb. And like you have to be willing, you have to have the margin of safety to do dumb things. It's like the best ads I've ever run are stupid. They're easily the ones that I'm like, why is it, this has been working for like 6 months? Like, what? This is a dumb ad. Like, this is terrible. This ad, there's no reason for this to work. So it's like, even if you're in the ad world and you're like, I love ads, like the best ads are like the ones you have to, and you have to have the ability, the space, the margin of safety to like experiment that way. But also like the best partnerships that I've ever done. Like this partnership was like based on just like I had a dumb idea that I wanted to have a podcast about this one thing. And like it's evolved for 2 years, 2.5 years since then. But like it was born from having the margin of safety to do this like kind of like to like even talk to Lee in the first place and like the book things that work and like all of these things require a high level and a high ability to do dumb things and you just can't do dumb things from a place of panic.
Yeah. Because what you're saying essentially is like risk. What it's going to feel like is risk. I remember one time I did an ad. Well, I love Mal Cooper for ads. So I've done a lot of the Writing Wives stuff for ads. But like one time she was saying like her best ad for her sci-fi book series was like a cat video or like a cat pic or something. And that ad worked for so long. I mean, this was like a couple years ago, but still probably work now. I mean,
I
it's
just
like you're
joined
saying.
Wives.
Okay.
thing. So I'm excited to jump
Yeah,
in.
they help out of like all the ads courses. I mean, obviously it's a conglomerate of information at some point, right? And so I took stuff from everything, but like they changed how I think about ads so I don't shut down when it's failing. Do you know what I
Ding,
mean?
ding,
So
ding. They make,
yeah.
I want to make them fun again. And I
Yeah.
feel like,
So they have a book, or Mal has a book called Help My Facebook Ads Suck. And that book is kind of what like finally clicked it all in for me. But anyway, yeah, it's gonna feel like risk because you're gonna have this idea. You're gonna be like, what if I did like a cat video? And then you're gonna be tempted to, especially if you're waking up at an 8 or if you're in survival mode or whatever, you can't afford to take risks, or that's how
yeah,
it's gonna feel. And
you
you're gonna be
can't
like,
say
that's
yes to your goal.
stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to make space to be like, what do you really want to write? You can write anything. Just go to a comic book shop, take yourself on an artist date. And now I've written Kinky Batman and now Kinky Psychotic Poison Ivy. And it's probably the best books I've ever written.
Yeah.
They're
Amazing.
dark, they're funny, they're a mashup. They are books that only I could have written. You cannot chat GPT this book. It's too unhinged and too good. And I told my husband on our walk today, I was like, I'm awesome. He's like, yeah, if you do say so yourself. And I said, I should say so myself. I should say this because the more I do, the more I'm nice to myself, the smarter I am. Then I actually, if I go around saying I am pretty awesome, I'm a great writer, I'm a genius level writer. Well, then my brain is like, oh, we're open to the genius level ideas now. Let's open it
Right.
wide open. Let's go.
Right.
Let's get as creative as Steve Jobs, who just put like a couple different various things together in a certain way. And he's quoted a lot in the book. And I did like that because he said, focus isn't saying yes to one thing, it's saying no to the 1,000 other good things, but they're not the one thing.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult. We should probably have a whole mastermind based on like, are you applying this framework? Can you apply it? But we would add a lot of the woo-woo stuff in there, just to be on the nose.
Yeah,
with
like
it.
equipping us to be able to feel like we can take a risk. Because I work with so many authors who they're in such hustle mode and they're not like making the money that they want to make from it, that it's even more survival, right? It's even more like deadline packed against deadline, packed against deadline. They're doing their bodies a disservice. They're doing their creativity. They're in burnout. I think I said this at my talk at Writer MBA, like authors are the only industry, well, probably not. I mean, that I've observed from within that we hit burnout and then we keep going. Usually burnout implies you stop, you burnt out, you crashed out, whatever,
What's a
right?
badge of
Like,
honor even to be like,
exactly. For years, right? And like, so I work with so many authors who are in burnout and like, this is what I tell them. It's again, biology. The science is here. Like your brain, when you're in fight, flight, or freeze, you get dumber. You get dumber because your brain, that's one of the things that it takes energy from, right? You were saying like your stomach, so you lose your appetite and all this other stuff, but like you can't think creatively. You are not solution oriented at a high level, at least like even at the level you're asking to maintain at this point, much less grow if you do it in survival or stress mode, right? So
yeah,
first thing is like do whatever it takes to get out of that, whatever that looks like. I mean, it might look like monetizing your business in a new way, but it might look like going and getting a part-time hustle somewhere else so you can chill the F out. But like the
I think
first step is
the more you just bust out, the more you just make a wild decision. Like I'm getting a job at Starbucks. I'm doing something that I'm afraid to do or was totally against, or just I'm going to do something nuts. I think it gets you out of freeze, really.
yeah.
And like
It gives you
I'm
space
just going
to
to take a
breathe.
step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and on top of that, it's like I think a lot of people use coaching wrong, and they come into coaching wrong because they're like, I need you to fix me, and it's like, well, how I coach you is like you're gonna have to experiment. Like people always ask, like, will it work? And I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't like. There's this great Jim Croce um quote interview where he's and like this is a white guy in a white industry and he's a man, so like in like the 70s, so like take this for what it is, but he's like the music industry was better when there weren't record executives running it, when people were just like, I don't know if this is going to work, like, and I was like, that is better. It's just like, I don't know if this thing is going to, I don't know if that ad is going to save you. But it's probably not. But like, I do know you only need one thing to save you. Like, you only need one like Russell Brunson's not wrong. Like you're one funnel away, like you're one product away, like you're one launch away from like a 7-figure career. I just don't know which launch it is. Like I don't know what's going to do this, and nobody knows because I can't even predict what's going to work in my own career. And I've been living in this body for 43 years. I have no idea like if it's going to work. There's just this what I do know is like the more focused you are on what you want and the more open you are to letting the how happen however it is. Like to me what this book like just showed was the idea that I was talking about want not what not how is like the reason why what not how is so important is like you need space to try new things and like make new connections and like that is the gap that you're filling. We spend all of this time filling like with I just read this article about freedom from versus freedom to, and we spend so long getting freedom from our jobs and like we're propping up that freedom with books. And it's like, okay, well, like now I have freedom from my job. I don't want to go back there. So like I guess you just have to keep writing a book a month. And like people hate themselves and their business and their job and like literally everything. And like it ends up being worse than when they were working because now they don't have any, now they can't even lose themselves in the book they were writing. So it's like what we're really looking for is like to take the job, replace it with books, but then buttress all of this stuff so you can replace it and make anything happen. Like if you want to make a movie, you can make a movie, like whatever.
Stop running from something. Stop creating from the past.
Yeah. And run towards something.
Yeah. And go towards something. Manifestation works best and goal setting works best when you're not saying, I don't want to be weak, but you say, oh, I want to be able to do 60 push-ups. And you're going towards something versus just running away from some vague concept of the bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, because the running away is like the desperate energy, right? So in coaching, we talk about this, like when we do money mindset, we talk about like, think about if money was, I use money as your boyfriend a lot because I just love that energy, but like, think about money as a friend or, somebody like, yeah, just like a friend. But it's like, if you were desperate, think about when you like somebody. If you were desperate and you gave off desperate vibes, you're like calling them all the time or texting them all the time. Do you think that makes that, first date, you're like talking about marriage. Do you think that makes them want to like run towards you or away from you, And it's the same with what we want, these things that we're trying to manifest, because it's all energy, right? So like if you have desperate energy, it's going to repel it. I actually have a thing on like a little sticky on my computer. I have a check I wrote to myself from the universe for how much money I want. And I just have a sticky on it that says just for the hell of it. Because the energy I put into the stuff I want, yeah, I want it. I'm not like neutral or like I want it. Like it's going to be so good. It's going to be so fun. It's so juicy. I sit in how much I want this. It's just going to be so cool, but it's just for the hell of it. I don't need it to survive.
Holding it lightly.
Yeah, holding it lightly. I don't need it to be happy. I'm going to be happy either way. I'm already happy right now. And actually that brings it in.
Yeah, go to your millionaire author day. Why? Because you're doing all the things you love. Your millionaire author day is you wake up in the morning and you have your favorite cup of tea, coffee, favorite beverage in your favorite mug. That's you being a millionaire. The end.
The end.
And that means you get to be super wealthy feeling now.
Right.
Yeah. Pulling it forward. That's a thing that I think like for me, the future you was so helpful for, because I was like, I want to make $1 million and it's like, so I can work with cool people. It's like, well, you can already pretty much have unlimited cool people to work with currently. I want to go to the movies whenever I want to. And like, I want to finish work by 1. And it's like, you can do all of those things. Like right now, like you have the money and the means to do all of this stuff. It wasn't always that way. I was like, I had 5 minutes for it 10 years ago, but like over time, that's what I was going for. And like, that's what I kept making space for. I didn't make space to write a book. I just made space to make space. And it's very scary to do that. Freedom from is so much easier because it's like, there's a bear.
Yeah.
There's a bad guy. There's your job. There's your this. But like, once you actually have that freedom and like you just reset into rest and digest, there's nothing to fight. You just have empty space. And we are not good at sitting with emptiness or sitting with nothingness, which is why, like, I tell people I'm so opposed to you being happy. It's not because I'm opposed to you being happy. It's because that is not a state that you can maintain. Joy, awesome. Contentment, sure. But like, you can't be happy all day, every day. Like, even a child can't be happy all day, every day. So if your win condition is that you are always happy, it is an impossibility as a human to be always happy. To be generally happy, to have happiness as like a what you're going towards, awesome. But like that state is so I read a book that said emotions only last 90 seconds, and I was like, how dare you? And then they explained it, and I was like, oh. But like happiness is one of those emotions. It lasts 90 seconds. And like you can hold it longer, but like that is an emotion just like every other thing is an emotion.
Yeah. But you know what? I don't know if I can't, I have not met and talked to a lot of people who say happiness. They say relief from, they're running away, right? They're
Yeah.
running from the thing, because I think that's the base level. When you're in survival mode, that's all you can think
Yeah.
of, is to just not be in survival mode anymore. And I think
Because
that's
nine,
also
oh,
why we're not good at like a lot of times I'll be like, your homework is to not work this weekend. And they're like, what will
Yeah.
I do? And I'm like,
You talked about it
no.
being hard, and I'm like, it's hard in the way that you were running from a bear and then you asked yourself to stop and look out the window and smell the breeze and listen to birdsong. And that's hard because your body is revved up. That's the difficulty. It actually feels like shedding a burden.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
and but it is also hard. It's hard in a
It's
different.
almost like it's like a learned skill. You have to learn the skill of not being in fight or flight anymore, because
Yes.
if we've never been here before, or not for this length of time, it's like, this is not our baseline operating system. We have to learn how to do that.
Yeah, and nobody does, and because 99.9% of people like are in this state all of the time, that's what all the literature focuses on. And so it's like I'm overwhelmed with this freedom from, I'm overwhelmed with this like I'm in survival mode. And like once you get a little space, you're like, there's nobody telling you how to even conceive of that, because nobody, like only 3% of people change. So like, and if 97% of people don't change, and our goal is to make you consume more and more and more in capitalism, then like you're going to be fed the thing that is like just the next step of your journey. But this reminds me of when I was trying to train our dog Coco. Our dog Coco came from China. He was in a dog meat factory. Like he had a lot of reactivity. He had a big piece of his fur ripped off from, we assume, a fight from a dog. So he was very scary around dogs. And we brought in a trainer, like, what training class? And she's like, that's not how you train this dog. Like, what this dog needs to see is that he needs to be calm around his fears and realize it's going to be okay. And that's what I hear when you were talking about, like, it's so scary to do this stuff. It's like, it's hard to be around the things that you feared and realize they won't break you. You can just be at peace with them. But if like I could get one thing out of you had said, like, how do you go to a movie every day? It's like I just went to the movie and I was like, oh, the world didn't burn down. I like I had a crappy lunch and was like, oh, well, like I don't have to make more money from that. Like, all right, like I'm just gonna do this thing. And like when you do that for long enough and like they don't destroy you, and like you can say, oh, well, was that really a bad day or was that a bad 10 minutes? And I will often say, like, well, that was a really bad 30 minutes that I had today. I hated that 30 minutes. But then like the rest of the day, I was like not doing those things. And the more, so we go to this pack walk every week. And I don't think I've missed more than a couple in like years and years and years. And we do that walk every week because it continually shows my dog around an entirely new group of dogs that like it is okay, that there's not even, it's not that I will protect them. It's that there's nothing to protect them from.
That's so good. Yeah. So
That's
in other
amazing.
words, do the thing that scares you. I mean, that's the fastest way to not be scared of it anymore, is to just
because you do a little bit of it and it creates a pathway of safety. You have a 7-lane highway in your mind towards anxiety. And in this class, she's like, imagine yourself, maybe you can't imagine go to the movies, but you can imagine yourself at the movies. And she's like, just start to create a footpath. Start with the footpath to your ideal life. And if you can remember a time where you were happy, fulfilled at the movies, or maybe just out in nature, create a 7-lane highway to that versus anxiety.
Yeah.
And that is the work. It's like, you're going to relax more and feel good about it. And it's going to be really hard. Sorry. You're going to want to check your email on both your phone and your computer at the same time while watch. And Russell's over here, like, watch the movie. And I'm like,
well, that's why I like the movie, because I can't do that. It will be rude to like check my mail in the middle of the movie. So like that became like 2 hours. Like that, like one of the reasons I love movies is like they are a person, like they will shame you for doing any of that stuff. So like you sit in the movie and you're like, well, maybe the world's burning. And then I would get out and be like, oh, well, like nothing. And like I did that for like a year, and I was like, oh, well, like it's probably going to be okay. And like that, I asked, like whenever someone tells me about a trip and like how they saved money by like doing some, like I was like, oh, but like that wasn't going to bankrupt you. Like going on the trip might bankrupt you, sure, but like you didn't need to wait for that Uber. Like there was like a $20 difference that caused you like 2 hours of like struggle. Like why didn't you already had, let's say, $10,000 to go on this trip. Like the extra $100, like the extra $100 that you spent, that you didn't buy that thing that you're still thinking about, like that was not the deal breaker. Like, and we spend all of this time being like, okay, I'm going to do this, but the worst, most uninteresting version of this thing. And it's like, well, to me, it's actually easier to just not do that thing at all. Because they're like, okay, well, like, I don't have $10,000 and like, I don't have $12,000. Like, I'm just going to be like, we're not going to go on that vacation. I'm going to live within like where I could have a really great vacation, like doing this thing. And like, that won't bankrupt me. Like I have $1,000 and it won't bankrupt me. So like, I'm just going to do what's there. And we spend all of this time not like in this world of like, I can't do this thing. But then at the same exact time, we're going on a $10,000 vacation. So like, why can't you? Like there are all these things that you can control. And like spending the 10 grand might bankrupt you, but spending the $10,000 and $100 is not going to be the thing that bankrupts you. It's just not.
I don't know. I feel like obviously that example is very vague or broad, but when I hear it, I think, again, what's your sense of problem solving in your brain right now? Because if you're so stressed and anxious, like you said, then you're not thinking clearly. That's why you're going to be like, yeah, 10 grand is fine, but this extra 100, I'm feeling the pinch, right? Because I've done stuff like that before. And I can tell you, for me, it was like, oh, I went into fight or flight. I went into, I'm making decisions that don't make sense right now because I'm freaking out.
Yeah. My wife always is like, when you would go on vacation, just like whatever budget you had in your head just floats out and you just do whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm there. Like,
yeah.
Like the delta between me being there and like eating at this really nice restaurant or this crappy restaurant I don't want to is like $100. The delta is so little at this point. I'm going to be spending the next 6 months paying for this vacation. So like I might as well spend the next 6 months and 1 day paying for it than not do this thing. I don't know. And that's how I kind of, Lee actually helped me with this a lot because she was like, I only have millionaire problems. I only deal with millionaire problems. And I was like,
I should take my own advice. My God.
You should, because like every time you say this, I'm like, but like none of those are millionaire problems, Lee. Like they're not the thing that like, and like it's such a good, it's not necessarily millionaire problems. It's like once your KDP account has shut down 10 times and you've brought back and you still have money and things still work out, like guess what? The 11th time you're like, yeah, I mean this is inconvenient, but like I know how to make money now as well. It's that first time we were like, oh my God, like this Kickstarter is going to launch. What happens? And it's like, well, what is the worst thing that happens? People don't like you. People don't like you now. So like, just like, don't have
You know
people
what?
unsubscribe from your email address. Like, yeah, people will unsubscribe from your email literally no matter what you do. There's
Yes.
not a world where I could say, I will give you a gold bar and 100 people unsubscribe from every email I send. It just like will happen. Like, so I don't know, like the delta between 20 people, 120 people and 150 unsubscribing is like not that big when you already know you're going to have 100 people unsubscribe.
Yeah, I have been using that. Like, I'm a fan of like weird loophole brain tricks and affirmations that maybe I feel like I say a lot in coaching. Your therapist, don't tell your therapist I said this, or like no other coach is going to tell you to do it this way, but here we go. And it's because like I just want to know how your brain works and then I want to talk to that, right? And so yeah, I would say I'm a little bit like not a bully to myself, but I'm a tough love person. And so I do say to myself, Heather, there's plenty of people that don't like you now. So what? And it works for me. And like it wouldn't work for everybody. And I don't do that to everybody, but it works for me. And that's how I talk. I actually, when I was learning Facebook ads, it was mostly about what I thought I was good enough. I didn't think I was smart enough to learn Facebook ads. It was all mindset, right? So it was this huge block that like I would try it and something wouldn't work and I would go, see, it doesn't work. And then I would quit for like a few months and then, I'd wake up in a mood and we'd do it all over again. But so finally, the thing that made me be like bootstraps up, was I said to myself, Heather, you've been through some really crazy shit in your life and you have come out the other side. And in my mind, I'm already listing all this crazy stuff. And I mean, it is like bad, right? Like my father went to prison, like bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, so really, is this your story? Facebook ads are the thing that took you down? Facebook ads are the thing? Are you kidding me right now? And I'm like, well, when you put it like that, no, like I can't let this be the thing that like thwarts my success or growth or happy or what. And so then I'm like, okay, we're doing this. And it's like, I kind of got mad about it, but I needed to be mad because then like I was determined and mad is such a great, it's like action based and all of that, right? So it's like healthy and good. And so anyway, that's how I talk to myself and it works. I mean, not for everybody, but that's how I know me. I know me and I'm like, yeah, girl, no, this is not going to be your story,
Same. Okay, we are way over. I just realized we're like 20 minutes over. So like,
this was awesome. And
yes.
Heather, you're going to come hang out with me and go to my favorite, very fancy movie theater.
Let's do it.
You can dress up. The organ rises out of the stage and he played Phantom of the Opera. I just realized I did go to the movies yesterday. First time in like 5 years. So yay me.
Yay.
And it was a Hitchcock movie. So let's get our ski on and then we'll message you with a picture of Russell or you can fly in to the East Coast and we'll all do it anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime.
I love it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being around. I have another meeting that I forgot that is like in 3 minutes. So like I'm gonna say bye. Love you, and we'll talk soon.
Guys.
Thanks for listening. For more, head on over to sixfigureauthorexperiment.com for archive access, resources, and more. We'll see you next time.